Welcome back. We are having a very intimate and raw conversation with Emmy-winning journalist Alicia Quarles, who today, in a broadcast exclusive, is opening up for the very first time about surviving a mental health crisis that she live streamed over the internet. Thousands have seen this, but we are going behind the story. And Alicia has a warning for so many people who are burnt out. The incident sparked tabloid headlines. Alicia was taken into police custody, but ultimately she was not charged. And now, a year later, she is thriving and here to tell her story in her words. When we went to the break, we talked about a week prior to the moment that was live streamed.
Right.
You'd had a panic attack. Your family didn't know how to process it. You didn't know how to process it. And then August 26, 2022, you got news that you were not expecting.
I was not. I went in for a routine checkup, and I have fibroids, so sometimes my stomach is bigger, sometimes it's smaller. I had noticed my stomach was getting bigger, and I said while I was at the checkup, just check to see if I'm pregnant. Never thinking I really was. I was pregnant.
Your doctor and you believed the pregnancy was the straw.
Without a doubt. So, as I've spoken to my therapist, professionals, anything else that I was usually built to deal with, the stress, right? Put that amount of hormones in your body, times 2. Remember, now I'm just thinking it's one baby, times 2, and not knowing you're pregnant. It was a recipe, for a breakdown.
Did you feel happy about the news?
I felt in shock.
Just in shock?
In shock. And I took a picture of my pregnant stomach, I remember, and I emailed some people and texted some people. Now, looking back at it, that's completely out of character, the way I delivered it. But that time, I just wasn't thinking. And as the day went on, my calls were more erratic, my texts were more erratic, disturbing to family and friends. So a family friend came over.
When the family friend came over, what happened?
She said, Alicia, I'm gonna go get, so we're talking, she goes, give me your phone. Because by then I've been texting people, give me your phone. She goes, I'm gonna go get someone, like a medical professional, I'll be back. What she did, she came back, they thought I was fine for the night, and they left. And
so
then
you were back in there alone?
I was back in there alone.
Because at some point that night, someone called me and said, you need to read this text from Alicia, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And by then I said, wait, what? I started looking for your number in my phone.
I changed my number that summer so you didn't have it.
And I'm looking and I'm going, and then someone said, she's on Instagram.
Yes.
And this is live.
Yes.
What were you seeing in that moment? Do you remember?
In that moment, I know that I was panicked, and I know people started calling, but the more people started calling, the more anxiety I felt, if that makes sense. My phone was ringing nonstop, and then my phone was ringing through my computer, and it was just like constant. So then by the time police came, one of my friends was at the door, it was scary. Another one came, then one was very calm. But what I posted, and which freaked me out, if somebody's in a mental health state, the police put a baton through my door, and they were banging on the door, and that scared me even worse. So, as a black woman in America, I didn't hurt anybody. Maybe it was a threat to myself, not that I was suicidal, but what I was doing obviously wasn't good. To have that many police banging at your door, I understand nobody knows what to do in that crisis, but there's got to be another way, because that wasn't the way. I'm not a criminal. I'm speaking out because I know this didn't happen in vain. This was embarrassing to me, to my family, to my friends, to my profession as a journalist, something I hold so sacred. And so I'm looking back at that. I used to feel embarrassed, and I don't. I have a really good friend that works at the Child Mind Institute. And she said, Alicia, when somebody gets cancer or diabetes, people don't blame them. Your mind was broken. Your mind broke. So stop blaming yourself. And I stopped blaming myself. I released that. But I know calling the police was the wrong thing to do. Nobody should get arrested because their mental health is suffering.
We reached out to the New York Police Department for a statement about the arrest, and they did not provide a specific comment surrounding what happened at Alicia's home. But they did say, quote, there are no arrests on file. That is because the case was thrown out.
Yes, the case has been dismissed.
Dismissed.
Yes.
Even though there were headlines that said you'd been arrested, and you were arrested.
I was arrested.
You were arrested.
I was.
I mentioned earlier, and to speak to her strength right now, I mentioned your closeness to your family. Your mother, in particular, there was a moment on your way home from court with your mom.
Yes. So I get arrested and I wake up in the ER chained to the hospital bed. Right, and I'm telling them I'm pregnant, and there's an officer with me, right? He switched shifts, another officer comes. My officer comes back, he goes, "You're still here?" We're talking hours. They take me to get an ultrasound, I never got it. Hours later, I'm in this room. So I get transferred to a jail. I'm saying, "Hey, I'm pregnant, can I have any food?" Eventually, hours later, a bag of chips. From there, I go and get arraigned. I have on no shoes. It was inhumane. I have on no shoes. My contacts are now out because they wouldn't give me saline, so I really can't see. And I'm in this holding cell, and I walk out. I have very bad vision, but I could see my mom, and I could see my aunt. And that's when it all got real. I'm like, oh, did I mess up? Like my mother, like, you just think, did I embarrass my family? Did I mess up? And that overwhelmed me. But my mother was right by my side. She never, ever wavered, ever. And that's a mom.
That's a mom. And I made the point to say you've been through so much and your resilience because you have since lost your mom.
I did. I lost my mother 4 days before Mother's Day. And, we were planning our first Mother's Day together. We were so excited. But Tamron, I'm finding meaning in this. And there's, I'm finding meaning in this. Robin Roberts says, make a message out of your mess. But I'm really turning my pain into triumph. My mother lived long enough to meet my babies. She lived long enough. She lived and she was there for me through the hardest part of my life. At a time when so many people weren't celebrating my pregnancy, my mother did, my father did, my family did. And, I was talking to my mother the day before she passed, beautiful things. And when she passed, my father, sister, and I were there, and we kissed her, and we saw her over, we prayed her over to the next life. I miss my mom, but I'm at peace because there was nothing left unsaid between us. And, that's a mom.
That is a mom.
And
More of our conversation with Alicia after the break. Welcome back. We are having a very important conversation, an exclusive interview with Emmy-winning reporter Alicia Quarles. And coming up, we're going to have the author of the book, The Burnout Epidemic, to talk about how we all may be living under this cloud of burnout. But first, Alicia's friend Kelly Brady rushed to Alicia's home out of concern when she noticed that alarming activity on Alicia's social media account that now infamous night. And following the incident, she and Alicia's other friends were criticized on social media for how they responded. And Kelly is here now with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here for her.
When I asked Alicia to come on, I said, I'd like some of your friends to come on because I remember reading and that you're alive and people are like, why are her friends grabbing her phone? Why are her friends letting her put this on? So you are aware that people were second guessing everything about that night.
I actually wasn't because I was there, so I wasn't reading the comments.
Yeah.
But I saw what was happening. My husband thought she'd been hacked. We were up in the middle of the night because our daughter had, peed the bed, so we were awake. And so I'm just like scrolling, and new things kept popping up. So I was like, wait a minute, I think this is her. And then she started time stamping it and showing the actual time on the microwave. So I was like, wait a minute, like there's something wrong with my friend. And I was like, I think I need to go there. And he's like, go. So I went and
yes. And you've been friends for 10 years.
10 years.
So you rushed there.
And so I had two things like as a goal as I was getting there. I was like, she needs me, she needs to see me, and I needed to get that phone, and I needed to delete everything because I was worried that like, if people woke up and saw this, that the career that she worked so hard to build could be jeopardized.
Because you work in PR.
I'm in PR, so like my PR brain and friend brain was like driving to that house. Yeah. And
when you got there, what did you see?
The police were already there. So this was the second time that the police had gotten there. And there was two other friends that I had called, and police told us only one person could go up.
Police said only one person could go up, and the person who went up with police happened to also be a friend but a reporter.
Yes.
And that ended up triggering even more.
I just didn't open the door. Yeah. And I love this person. I just saw police, I saw reporter, my mind, I wasn't thinking. Because in my mind, he's my friend, but I wasn't thinking.
What did you think? Could you hear what was
No,
happening?
because it was many floors up, but he came back down and they realized, oh, you were right. All of you guys should go up. And at this moment, it just made me realize that, I mean, like Alicia said, I am not anti-police, but they were very ill-equipped to deal with the mental breakdown. They were treating her as a criminal. They weren't listening to the friends that knew what was best. And like, we didn't call the police, they were just there. And you know, we were happy to like have this backup, but like it kind of backfired on us tremendously.
And I think it points to, again, in that moment, no one knowing what to do. In reality, who would know what to do?
Right.
None of us knew what to do. We knew that she needed us. Yeah. And I'd love for like, the reason why I wanted to come on to the show is to like help other people that are going through this and friends that are watching their loved ones go through this know what to do, because we really didn't know what to do.
We should point out, if you or someone you know is in crisis, there's free confidential help. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The National Lifeline 988 is the number, because I didn't know this. We started doing this show and you think, well, who do you call?
Yeah.
And this was something that came up in our information and our research. That's who you call. Together, what do you hope to accomplish? Do you want to speak out more together? Would you want to go in and help educate officers and responders to situations like this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What I want. They need to have the right tools to help people, because that's what she needed.
Thank you for asking that. Kelly and I, after all this, we've had so many conversations about that. We're not anti-police, but we want them to be trained and to be equipped and for the right people to respond to these mental health crises, because they're not going anywhere. But they have got to be trained, and the right protocol has to be put in place so that nobody else goes through this.
What she went through.